Outer Orange.
So I originally wasn't going to make a video on this, but I said screw it, I'll just make a video on it anyway because I do have some thoughts and I kind of want to get them out. So let's go ahead and discuss the official ban list that finally dropped for the English format. Let's go. All right, so here we are. Here we have the ban list. So this is the Fighters Rules update effective October 10th. So pretty sure that some regions that for the FBCS won't be affected by this, so they still have some time to play with the Gurgit stuff. Not that I think it was really necessary. Like Percival has been annoying, but I don't think it's like it's with Maidens being around. I don't think Gurgit was really performing that well, along with most Gold's decks. Standard had absolutely no updates. It's not really surprising. Standard is still pretty fresh new formats. You know, hitting stuff in Standard is just kind of weird. Like Magnolia was really a hit that kind of needed to happen. However, I don't really think anything else can be hit. A lot of people are arguing about Gravidia. I think the biggest issue with Gravidia is that there really isn't anything you can directly hit that'll actually stop the main issue with Gravidia. And I think that's part of the reason why it's kind of a hard hit. Some really want the grade 3 gone, the grade 3 that gets a crit and all that stuff. I don't disagree, but I don't think it'll stop the deck from topping. I would say maybe get rid of the Shadow Army token, but then that will still not stop the deck from topping. It'll just lower, you know, the turn 2 plays, but then you could just run more grade 2s, and then you could just go towards the pure build where you're just, you know, hitting triggers more. So I don't think it'll overall stop the deck from being successful. But then we got V Premium. We officially got the Percival restricted again, and we also got the KFC chicken restricted. So thank God. I really didn't want to see this card. To be honest, this card had a really good matchup into Ange, but as we'll see in a little bit, some stuff is changing about Ange too. But the Percival hit is honestly really nice. I'm not gonna lie, I am tired of Percival. Not in like I'm tired of facing and all this stuff. I'm actually just tired of the amount of people complaining about Percival. Percival has just been discussed literally since the release of Percival because Gurgit was really strong, and then that got restricted, and then even at 1 it was really strong, and then it was gone, and it came back, and there's always something. The only thing I'm really sad is that this can't be played at Prominence Core. It's kind of a good thing and a bad thing. Like, you know, I like the fact that they got rid of this card so they could just literally print more bluish flame stuff and kind of help the deck that way without having this card be a thing, because this thing is just so stupid. It's just such a stupid card, so it being gone is probably for the best for Golds, honestly. I'm glad the bird's gone too. I didn't really like the bird. I didn't really want the bird to be a thing, but we do have more. So we got the unrestriction of Charon. We also got the unrestriction for Ellie, and then we got the Q-Tire restriction. Now, a lot of people, the reason why I'm actually making this video is because I really want to talk about Q-Tire with you guys. Well, probably what I'm going to say isn't going to make a lot of people happy, but I'm going to, you know, I want to express my feelings anyway about it. But first, before we get to Q-Tire, let's talk about the Charon, the Charon restriction. So this is actually really, really good for Luard. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of what Luard needed, and Luard is actually going to probably be a deck again. So while I would be very cautious of Luard, this will definitely bring Luard back to probably tier 1. Some may argue that that's not the case, but that is definitely the case. Luard is actually insanely good into Steam Maidens. I have been having trouble facing this deck as a Maiden player. You have to play a very specific way. You can't just bash face, but if you play very conservatively, Luard actually has a really good matchup into Maidens because the force marker spam is just really good. You can go for the long game. It's actually a very good matchup. So this coming back will actually cause some interesting changes in the meta, but it also causes other problems. Like Luard will start being one of the better decks again. Other decks won't be able to keep up. There's no Prism stopping it anymore. There's like other stuff that's changed that will just make Luard have no contestants, I would say, outside of Maidens, but we'll see. There's still like 2 or 3 other decks that kind of have like not a terrible matchup into both those decks. So we'll kind of see, maybe people will actually start building around towards the aspect of fighting Steam Maidens and Luard. You know, a lot of really good ways to outpace them, pretty much kill them before they get to their better turns. High roll decks are really good into this. You know, you can play the more aggro versions of decks and just try to push for game. Now we did get the Ellie unrestriction. Honestly, that makes sense since Q-Tire got restricted, so this really won't change anything. It doesn't change any of the Bermuda decks. They were all already using Ellie with the exception of Prism. Since Prism is gone, you know, this happened. However, we did get Q-Tire restricted to 0 essentially, and this I am not too happy about, mainly because I know people hate this card, but honestly, so it had like its BRO run because there was like a moment of time before like before, you know, the new clan collection came out, and then you know, there was a lot of Angelanders and all this stuff, but honestly, Angelander is not performing anymore. It was like a brief second that it was doing well, and partially it's because just everyone and their mom decided to take it for whatever reason, and then we had a couple of the pure decks that were performing. There was just a lot of Ange, but I'm gonna be real with you guys, like currently this deck is the Angelander or regular Highlander really wasn't performing, and it wasn't going to continue performing unless Maidens got knocked out. And even with Maidens getting knocked out, I still don't think it would have been performing. However, because we did lose Gurgit as well, the only big tester into most Highlander decks was actually Gurgit. So with Gurgit being gone, I will say that it would have increased the chances of people playing Anj. However, what they could have done is they could have just restricted the card to 1 and let people use it in Highlander, and that's what I'm kind of getting at. I just don't like the fact that they fully restricted this card. I think it would have been okay at 1. I know you can aqua bounce it, but it's not 3 of them on the board, and it also, you know, just would have been fine in Highlander. Highlander has never really been showing results. It's had a couple here and there, but Highlander has never really been that insane of a deck. It's extremely inconsistent. I've been testing it myself recently because I've been trying to find another deck to take in case Maidens gets hit, and honestly, I'm not gonna lie, the deck just isn't performing that well. It's not a bad deck. Like, when it hits like a truck, but honestly, it's very inconsistent. You can brick roll it easily, you can just not do anything, you can miss your pieces, all this kind of stuff. So the fact that one of the more interesting or more creative decks just got completely shot for no reason, I'm not really a fan of. I would prefer that this stay in Highlander. I don't think Highlander, at least in V for a while, is ever going to get that consistent to where it'll matter. And I think just basing off of bureau results just for this one direct hit doesn't matter, because like I said, the meta shifted so differently. This is what I was talking about when bureau results happened. Everyone wanted Q-Tire banned, and I was saying, like, what's the point if the meta is going to shift again? And I was talking about the Divangasai results, how there was Steam Maidens and Great Nature and Gurgit dominating the meta, and everyone was still like, but Angelander, and I was like, but Angelander doesn't matter. Like, it's not going to be a deck anymore. It's too slow. And it is still too slow. Like, so personally, I think this could have been honestly a piano hit instead, but I understand why piano wasn't hit. I think again, for the same reasons why I didn't want Q-Tire hit, the meta just started. It's been 4 weeks and it just started. A lot of people were just bringing the decks that they thought were the best decks, which was like Gurgit, Aqua Force, and then there's Steam Maidens and, you know, Great Nature and a couple other decks. Like, people were just bringing the decks that they were comfortable with bringing, not really thinking how to fight the meta. So no one's really brought decks that actually directly impact into Steam Maidens really well. And that's part of the reason why Steam Maidens is dominating, because all the decks that people brought, Steam Maidens is better than those decks and performs better. Steam Maidens really dies to early rush and a lot of there's aggro. So aggro decks really dominate, but this meta was not an aggro deck meta. This is actually more of a consistency type of meta where you're going for like a win con essentially, and it's been like that for a while. Like, now I will say, I'm not saying that Steam Maidens isn't strong. I'm not saying Steam Maidens isn't the best deck. I still think that that's true. And with that being said, I also don't think Steam Maidens has a whole lot of counterability. It has some counterability, but it doesn't have a full-on straight up counterability accessible right now. I do believe that there are some decks out there that actually have a really good match into it, but it doesn't stop the issue that Steam Maidens is good. And I would like to expect to see some kind of hit to Steam Maidens. I just do think it was a little too soon. I've discussed before that December is probably the time to hit Maidens, because it'll give it enough time for the meta to truly adapt, for people to see what's going on. And it will make it so that way it doesn't go to Worlds, right? So, which would mean a lot of people have to start thinking about what else to take. It'll make Worlds more interesting, honestly. But we'll see. We might see even, might even see the Charon kind of come back on the restriction list, because I would be very surprised if people don't start taking more Luard. And because Luard will honestly be an insanely good deck to take. But I would be interesting to see if people start taking other decks that are just a little bit more rush oriented. But I guess we'll have to see. Like, we'll see if people adapt to the meta or if they just decide to play the meta, because that's kind of where the choices will be made. Now, Premium is pretty much kind of the same. It officially pretty much looks like Japan. We got the Odysseus restriction, we got the MFD restriction, we got the Nazahari restriction, and we also got the Fabricated Dragon restriction for you know, all pretty much the same thing. So now we have like the full-on like Japan list. It's pretty similar now. If it's not the same, I'm not exactly sure. I don't keep up with the Japan to English exactness of it. You know, Fuzzy is sad, poor Fuzzy, because he was the only person that's really piloting it here in the in the English side of things. And then we got the MFD hit. No surprises there. Deck was really good. ODC is getting hit. No surprises there. The deck wasn't like, you know, it wasn't the best deck in the format, but it was very oppressive and annoying enough to where it was a good deck for it was an annoying marker spam deck, and I just don't think that's healthy. Now I will say there's no Narukami on this list, and I truly have believed, even during MFD and for Ripple's meta, that Narukami was the best deck to take. And now with MFD being out, MFD was actually one of the few decks that had a really good matchup into Narukami. As crazy as it sounds, but triple turn is really good. You know, Narukami can't handle that, but Narukami sure can handle pretty much everything else pretty okay. And that says a lot. The fact that a triple turn deck is one of the few things that stop Narukami, I think, is a problem. it shouldn't be a triple turn deck trying to stop the Narukami. Like, it should be more than just that. And it should be a lot more and a lot easier than just that. Part of the reason is just Narukami has officially too much access to things, and it just performs so well now that it just doesn't, most of these decks just can't keep up with it. I will say now, with this shift away from Ripples and Mystery Flare, I truly believe we're going to start seeing bugs, and we're going to see bugs in Link Joker more, which means we're going back into like a control type of variant meta, which might be good. I will say my premium knowledge, at least to what the new best decks will be, isn't perfect, because I truly believe that Narukami is just the best option now. Whether it strides or not, it just doesn't matter. I think NOK won't be too far behind because it's also a pretty good deck into a lot of these weird decks. I haven't seen Link Joker, but I've been talking about Link Joker for a while, saying that because they just keep getting secretly, like very quietly, like really good cards, like it'll just come back in meta, and it has been showing performance. It's been topping in top 8 specifically. It has been showing results, so you know, it's clearly doing something. Another one is Bugs. Bugs is under that same thing where Bugs has been performing relatively decently even after the restriction, because there's Machinings and there's Pure, both of which do pretty good stuff. Like, they're both good decks. They both have really good turn 2 type of approaches where they pretty much deny stride. Now, I will say there's a couple other decks. Now that Mystery Flare is gone, there's still Steam Maidens kind of that exists. Like, that deck topped actually pretty recently, and it can come back. It can come back as a legitimate deck. The deck actually does a lot. It has a ride down mechanic too, kind of similar to Dolls. We might see Dolls come back because of this. I'm not 100% sure, because I think all these control decks kind of stop Dolls. A lot of people think Dolls is like decent. I think Dolls doesn't perform too well into this upcoming meta that we'll see, but I'm not 100%. I think that's pretty much everything. So that's pretty much everything going on. I will say, out of all of these, my premium knowledge is probably the smallest, because I spent the least amount of time testing for premium, because I took Mystery Flare, and Mystery Flare is a lot easier to test for than, I would say, the upcoming meta that's coming up now. I will need to start testing 2 more decks to kind of see what's going on, because when Mystery Flare meta was meta, the best 3 decks was Narukami, Ripples, and Mystery Flare. That's really the only testing I needed. Everything else was like, I'll figure it out type of thing, but now I actually have to spend some time to see what in the world is happening. Yeah, and what's Grand Blue, I don't know what that clan is anymore. It's bad in V, and in my opinion, and it won't be too good in premium either, so that's a thing. But yeah, other than that, guys, that's it. I made my video, so I kind of want to get my thoughts out. I really want to discuss the stuff that other people haven't really been bringing up as much, so that's why I'm here. That's why I'm making this video. I normally don't make these kind of videos, but I really want to get my feelings out. I hope I don't get too many hate comments over Q-Tire. I know there's some people that really hate it. Which, another thing I haven't brought up is Bermuda and Premium. There's a lot of discussion about Bermuda and Premium, especially with Moitra coming out, or Mortaria, whatever her name is. The Grade 1 promo that's coming out with Nani, which is the Gear Chronicle promo for Rebellion. Both those promos are insanely good, and we'll see how those promos affect that, because something people haven't been talking about is actually the promos that have been coming out. All the promos recently, with the exception, I think, of the DP one. I looked into that card. I don't, maybe it's something I'm missing, but that card looks not too great, but maybe I'm wrong. But regardless, all of the promos recently that have been coming out have been really, really good. So that's actually another factor to include into all this. There may be some like other decks that might be like, you know, showing some results. We'll have to see. Anj might come back, but now Anj was in Q-Tire, maybe not. I'm not 100% sure yet, but Anj as pure, as a pure deck, might actually start showing some sightings. Nani is actually really good to Rebellion. I just spent last night talking about it, and the Moitra Bermuda card is really good both in P and V, so we'll have to see kind of where things kind of start going from here. But on that, guys, peace out. Huh? Well, that just happened. But other than that, guys, peace out. That's Vidania. I'll see you guys next time, and tell me your thoughts on the ban list and how you feel, and what, you know, sort of what your takes on the future of Cardcraft Vanguard in all 3 formats is going to be like. So yeah, bye, see you next time. Bye.